On a breezy May evening in 1980, the chalk cliffs of Beachy Head stood silent, witness to a secret that would lie buried for nearly a decade. Among the scattered wildflowers and coastal winds, 22-year-old Jessie Earl, a bright, independent art student, vanished into the undergrowth, leaving behind only questions and heartbreak. Jessie was no drifter. She was a dreamer, keen on poetry, painting, and the quiet solitude of the Sussex coastline. Beachy Head was her escape, a place where she read her books, sketched the restless sea, and, for a moment, shut out the world. But on the night of May 15th, 1980, that familiar sanctuary became the setting for something unspeakable. Earlier that day, Jessie called home from a phone booth on Eastbourne seafront. She told her mother she'd be visiting the next day. Her tone was calm, routine. Nothing seemed amiss. But when Friday came and went with no sign of her, her parents' worry quickly hardened into dread. On May 17th, Jessie's mother, Valerie, boarded a train to Eastbourne. When she pushed open the door to Jessie's small bedsit in Upperton Gardens, she felt a chill no mother should ever feel. Dirty dishes waited on the table. Jessie's purse lay untouched on the bed. A book and her reading glasses rested awkwardly on the floor, as if dropped mid-thought. Everything suggested she had just stepped out, just for a moment, and never returned. Friends hadn't seen her since Wednesday. There were no notes, no entries in her diary to hint at a plan to leave. Nothing made sense. Police dogs searched the surrounding areas. Posters went up across town. Even helicopters scanned the South Downs, hoping the infrared might catch a sign of life. But the Downs kept their secret. Days turned to weeks. Months turned to years. And the gentle cliffs of Beachy Head carried on, unchanged, except for one tiny girl's runaway kite. 9 years after Jessie disappeared, in April of 1989, a father crawled into a thicket to retrieve his daughter's tangled kite. There, hidden by thyme and brambles, lay a skeleton. It was Jessie, still so close to the place she loved, yet so cruelly taken from it. She had no clothes, no shoes, only a bra, knotted tightly around her wrists. Her ring, her watch, her leather bag, and her asthma inhaler were missing. And just like that, all hope was replaced by horror. A brief inquest later that year added insult to tragedy. Despite the chilling condition in which she was found, naked, bound, abandoned, the coroner ruled there was insufficient evidence to declare murder. An open verdict was recorded. For Jessie's grieving parents, it was a legal shrug. A wound reopened with every passing year. And with that open verdict, the case quietly decayed. Crucial evidence, her bra, the soil beneath her bones, was destroyed in 1997 because technically, it wasn't a murder case. By the time Sussex police reopened the file in 2000, modern forensic tools were useless. The earth had been wiped clean, and with it, so much hope for justice. Yet one name lingered in the shadows: Peter Tobin, a Scottish drifter, a handyman, a serial predator. Tobin was convicted of killing at least 3 women, and possibly many more. He had a habit of lurking on the edges of other people's lives, appearing just long enough to ruin them before vanishing up the country. When Jessie went missing, Tobin was in Eastbourne. He worked odd jobs, sometimes at the Holy Trinity Church. He matched the description of a middle-aged Scottish man Jessie once mentioned to her mother, one she had encountered near Beachy Head. She confided afterward, "I wish men would be prepared to be just friends." A haunting echo of his known patterns, luring women in quiet places, binding them with their own clothing. In 1986, Tobin murdered Vicky Hamilton and tied her hands with her own bra, just as Jessie had been bound. After Jessie's remains were found in 1989, Tobin abruptly moved hundreds of miles north overnight, offering no explanation to his wife. It wouldn't be the first time he fled after leaving death behind. There was another clue, another young woman, another missing life. 18-year-old Louise Kay disappeared from Beachy Head in 1988. Her car, gold with a distinctive white door, vanished with her. Tobin was living nearby then too, working at a local hotel. Days later, he was seen selling a hand-painted car that looked suspiciously like Louise's. She was never found. Operation Anagram, a sweeping probe into Tobin's past, tried to stitch together these dark fragments. Detectives collected DNA from Jessie's family, hoping to match it to Tobin's possessions. But the passage of time and the destruction of key evidence tied their hands. In the end, there was no forensic proof, only an unsettling lattice of coincidence and predatory habit. For Jessie's parents, decades of uncertainty left scars deeper than the cliffs that kept her secret. They petitioned tirelessly for her case to be reopened, for her death to be called what it truly was: murder. Finally, in May 2022, 42 years after Jessie last stepped into that thicket, a second inquest reversed the injustice. Coroner James Healy Pratt declared what everyone else had always known. A third-party perpetrator used the brassiere to restrain Jessie by the wrists and had intentionally killed her by means unknown. Jessie was murdered. It wasn't closure. No killer stood in the dock to answer for what was done, but it was a measure of truth, a small balm for a family who never stopped fighting for their daughter's name to be cleared of shame and speculation. Today, Beachy Head remains beautiful. Its cliffs rise defiantly against the channel winds. Walkers still tread its paths, pausing to admire the horizon that Jessie once called her own. But beneath the wildflowers in the wind, her story whispers of a predator who was never caught, of evidence lost to carelessness, and of parents who refused to let a cold file become a cold memory. If you visit those cliffs and hear the sea roar far below, remember Jessie Earl, a daughter, a dreamer, a victim who should have grown old under gentler skies. And perhaps, somewhere, someone still holds the missing pieces that might, one day, finish her story for good.